So we've had a think about authors, the people who write stories, illustrators, the people who do the pictures, the illustrations. Now it's time to think about the actual stories. Now the authors have to create characters in their books, which then of course the illustrators draw, don't they? Now a character, what's a character? Can you tell me? Yeah, you're almost probably dressed as a character from a story today. The characters could be people in the books, animals, could be robots, could be things that don't exist anymore like dinosaurs. It could be even things that they've made up. It could be aliens. So let's have a look in some books to see of what different types of characters we have. So in Room on the Broom, our main character is a witch. And what's interesting here is this witch is quite friendly, isn't she? She seems to be a nice witch. And then you might read another story where the witch isn't the nice character and might be up to wicked things. So we've got a witch in this story, a tiger who came to tea. I know there's a puffin who will like this because of the tiger. We've got a tiger, which is a real animal, but they've turned the character into a tiger that actually would go to someone's house and have food at the table. Now that wouldn't happen, would it? So we've got an animal that's a real animal, but doing things that this animal wouldn't do. Also in here we have a family. So you have books with characters with families in. I've got one here to do with Under the Sea. We've got lots of different fish. And we've got characters with shells. Crab. We've got a dinosaur, and in this book the dinosaur's quite funny, isn't he? And in some other books you might get a dinosaur that is a bit scary. And in here we've got characters that are common in fairy tales like the princess. So we have human characters, animals, characters based on things that authors have imagined and made up, like the Gruffalo. And this one here, look at this character in The Last Nunu. Shall we have a look at this book? So this book is called The Last Nunu. What on earth is a Nunu? That's the title. And above the title, look, we've got the author, Jill Murphy. And Jill Murphy is also the illustrator of this book too. Marlon sat on the floor watching TV. Marlon's granny sat in the armchair watching Marlon. He's getting too old for that dummy, she said, sternly to Marlon's mum. It's a Nunu, said Marlon. Now, look at them. They look slightly, what do you reckon? Maybe like a dragon-like, some kind of reptile. But their character also looks like they're human, don't they, the way they are sat there. So this author has invented these characters. He calls it a Nunu, explained Marlon's mum. Well, whatever he calls it, said Marlon's granny. He looks silly with that thing stuck in his mouth all the time. He doesn't have it in all the time, soothed Marlon's mum. Only at night or if he's a bit tired. He's a bit tired now, aren't you, pet? Said Marlon. There he is, with his Nunu. His teeth will start sticking out, warned Marlon's granny. Monster's teeth stick out anyway, observed Marlon. Don't answer back, said Marlon's granny. You should just throw them all away, she continued. At this rate, he'll be starting school with a dummy. At this rate, he'll be starting work with a dummy. You'll just have to be firm with him. Well, said Marlon's mummy, I am thinking about it. We'll start next week, won't we, Marlon? Now you're a big boy. We'll just get rid of all those silly Nunus, won't we? No, said Marlon. You see, said Marlon's granny. One word from you and he does as he likes. There was no doubt about it. Marlon was a hopeless case. So we've got Mum, who's kind of like a nice caring mummy here, isn't she? And then we've got Granny, who's a bit grumpy, isn't she? She's a bit of a grumpy character. Now, who's this? Which character is this one? Oh, look what they're doing. Right. Marlon's mum decided to take drastic action. Oh, it's Marlon's mum. She gathered up every single Nunu she could find and dumped them all in the dustbin 5 minutes before the rubbish truck arrived. But Marlon had made plans just in case the worst should happen. He had secret Nunu supplies all over the house. Oh, he's become a bit of a clever character. There was a yellow one down the side of the armchair, a blue one at the back of the bread bin, various different types in his toy ambulance, and his favourite pink one was lurking in the toe of his Wellington boot. Yes, he's a very clever whatever he is. Now there they are, look at those. They're a bit puzzled, aren't they? His mother and Granny were astonished. They could not think where he kept finding them. You'll be teased when you go out to play, warned his Granny. A great big monster like you with a baby's dummy. Marlon knew about this already. The other monsters had been teasing him for ages, but he loved his Nunu so much that he didn't care. The other monsters often lay in wait and jumped out on Marlon as he passed by with his Nunu twirling. "Who's a big baby then?" jeered Basher. "Does the little baby need his dummy then?" sneered Alligatina. "Who's his mummy's little darling?" cooed Bumps-a-Daisy. Marlon always ignored their taunts. "You're just jealous," he replied. "You all wish you'd got one too." So we've got some more characters. They don't seem very kind, do they? So some characters can be kind in books and some are not. Gradually, the secret supply of Nunus dwindled. Marlon's mum refused to buy any more, and they all began to be lost or thrown away by Marlon's mum. Finally, there was only one left, the pink one. Marlon kept it with him all the time, either in his mouth or under his pillow or in the toe of his Wellington boot, where no one thought to look. To his delight, Marlon found one extra Nunu that his mum had missed. It was a nice blue one which had fallen down the side of his bed and been covered up by a sock. He knew his best pink Nunu wouldn't last forever, so he crept out and planted the blue one in the garden. Oh, what do you think he's done that for? All the other monsters decided to gang up on Marlon. Oh, that's not very kind, is it? They collected lots of different bits of junk and fixed them all together until they had made just what they wanted. It was a Nunu snatcher. Then they waited behind a bush until Marlon came past with his pink Nunu twirling. "Here he comes," says Alligatina. "Grab it," yelled Bumps-a-Daisy. "Now," said Basher. With one quick hooking movement, they caught the ring of the Nunu with the Nunu snatcher and pulled. Oh no, look. But Marlon clenched his teeth and held on. Monsters have the most powerful jaws in the world. Once they have decided to hang on, that's it. Marlon hung on, the monsters hung on to the Nunu snatcher, and there they stayed, both sides pulling with all their monster might. Ah, so these characters are all monsters. Are monsters real? So in stories you can create the characters that you want. And there they would be still if Marlon had not decided just at that very moment that perhaps he was too old to have a Nunu anymore. So he had let go, and all the other monsters went whizzing off down the road across the park and into the pond with a mighty splash. Splash. Marlon went home. "I've given up my Nunu," he said. "I sort of threw it into the pond." "Good gracious me," exclaimed Marlon's mum, sitting down suddenly with shock. "I told you," said Marlon's granny. "You just have to be firm." "Actually," said Marlon, "I've planted one, so I'll have a Nunu tree just in case I change my mind." "That's a nice idea," said Marlon's mum. "Ah, so that's why he planted it in the garden." "Nonsense," said Marlon's granny. "Dummies don't grow on trees. A Nunu tree. How ridiculous." Huh? Look at that. Look carefully. They look like flowers in the tree and buds, but look. So Jill Murphy in that book had created her own monster characters. And what I'd like you to do next is to have a look in all your books first of all and see which different types of characters you can find. Can you find human ones? Can you find animal ones? Can you find ones where animals are like humans? Can you find other things like robots or aliens? And maybe some families, some different types of people in your books. And think about, are they good characters? Are they evil characters? Are they heroes? Are they kind? Are they mean? So have a look through, see what you can find, and then your actual challenge, because you're going to need it for the next video, is can you design your own character? Now Jill Murphy in The Last Nunu, she made up those characters by herself. She didn't copy any, so this is a good challenge for you. It doesn't have to be a person, it could be an animal that you turn into a person kind of thing who does human type things. It could be an alien you invent, it could be a hero. Have a think, can you design your own character? If you were the author of a book and you were going to illustrate a character, can you design one? Have a think, would they be kind? Would they be happy? Would they be scary? Would they be evil? So have a go at designing your own character. And it's up to you. Do you want to draw it, paint it? Do you want to use different materials to like collage one? I look forward to seeing which character you can come up with. Maybe you could give it a name and describe what your character is like. And then you'll need that character for the last video challenge.